this county.
How's it going?
I'm doing great.
How's everything going?
It's good. It's not a stop. I'll talk to you later in the session.
I've been teaching all day and I have died.
Yeah, I don't know. I was talking to Marcus about it. He was like, I guess we'll see. They're going over all that right now, trying to figure it out. He told me that they basically finance, they run all different scenarios. So they know.
Good evening. If you want to grab your seat, we'll be starting in just a moment.
Mayor.
All right, if anybody can grab their seat, we're getting started right now. Hello, everyone, welcome. I'm Alana Reed. I'm the Director of Communications and Engagement for the City of San Antonio. Welcome to our District 10 Budget Town Hall. I'm going to quickly go over tonight's agenda. So we're going to watch a quick video, then I'm going to introduce your council member, and then we are going to have a little panel discussion. Then we're going to open it up to your questions. We'll take your questions until 8 o'clock tonight, and then we have door prizes at the end. So let's get started with our video.
We appreciate you spending your valuable time with us. Before we begin today's meeting, I'd like to invite you to take advantage of our language access services. If you need assistance in American Sign Language, please visit with one of our interpreters. Si necesita servicios de traducción en español, consulte a un miembro de nuestro equipo. We invite you to participate in this meeting through a few ways. Listen actively to each speaker and try to connect your comments to the conversation. Please respect other people's opinions, even if they are different from yours. Please don't interrupt them and wait for your turn to be called on. Be curious. Please be open to new perspectives and seek understanding. It's okay to challenge ideas. Please don't attack people's character. Agree to disagree. Sometimes it's okay to move on in the conversation without an immediate resolution. Share airtime. Everyone has wisdom and deserves the right to be heard. If you need any assistance at today's meeting, please reach out to a member of the City of San Antonio team. They are wearing city shirts to make it easier for you to find them. Let's begin today's meeting. Please welcome your host.
All right, let's give a big round of applause for your District 10 Councilmember, Mark White.
Well, how are we this evening? Everybody doing all right? Everybody take a look around this room. Do we do it right in District 10 or what? I would expect nothing less. So thank you all so much for being here this evening for the District 10 Budget Town Hall meeting. We are in the midst of budget discussions with the hopes of finalizing a budget next month. And so that is the reason we are here tonight, to get your feedback on exactly what you want to see in the budget. So thank you all for attending. I want to thank city staff. How about a hand for city staff for helping to put this together? The hardest working city council team in the city, your District 10 city staff or council staff. I also want to recognize former Councilman Gallagher and the Northeast Neighborhood Alliance, who's represented tonight. And our mayor, we're very appreciative of Mayor Jones for attending tonight. And Mayor, would you like to come up and say something for a minute?
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you all for taking the time to listen. To your point, Councilman, I've been here several times, and this is not a shy group. And so I'm always thankful of y'all's good feedback. Let me just say this. The city staff has done a really good job. They worked all summer to figure out how we close the gap in 26, as we're also looking at how we close the gap in 27. As you know, we've got to look at our budgets, not just 1 and 2 years, but also 5 years. And so some of the programs that you're going to hear about today, it's really important that we ask ourselves, how do we best strengthen our general fund? Because if you may remember the city manager's slide previously, if we don't do anything, that gap goes to $220 million in 2030. So I really want to hear from you all, your good questions on kind of what do we prioritize, how do we help ourselves in the long term. As you also know in your daily life, you don't just think about that budget, that 12-month budget, right? You also look at, hey, what are the aspirational things I want to do? What do I want to do with my budget? Where do I want to be 10 years from now, right? 7, 10 years from now. And so one of those things that we've got to be thinking about in the context of this budget is what our downtown looks like and what this amazing opportunity, this generational investment could look like. So I thank you for being here today. Thursday, we've got a really important vote at the City Council. The city staff, while they've been working hard on this budget, they've also been working really hard to negotiate with the Spurs on a term sheet, right? This is kind of the outlines of what that plan would look like. I'm thankful for their hard work. And now I think we need to do 2 things before we as a community vote on that. I think we need to get independent information on the cost and benefit of the Spurs Arena. Right now, the only numbers we have are from the Spurs. I love the Spurs, I want the Spurs here, but I want independent information. And that'll... I want independent information, and then I want to make sure your good councilman brings that data to you, brings you the draft term sheet. That arena is going to cost, the Spurs want it to cost $1.3 billion. You know what you'd be on the hook for? $489 million. I think you deserve an opportunity to review the data, review the draft term sheet before your councilman votes on it. And if you agree with me, please make sure you encourage him to support my resolution on Thursday. I grew up on the far west side of town. I'm a John Jay kid. And this morning, I had the privilege of giving some high fives to some little kids at the pre-K for SA on the west side. And I was deliberate. I picked that one specifically because that was right down the street from where I grew up. And so I was very happy about them starting their first day of school, but I had to think about it. If we don't get that deal right, those kids are going to be paying for it in 30 years. That's how we have to think about this, not just us, but the next generation. And that's why when folks say, hey, we got to vote on this on the 21st, no, we don't. No, we don't. We got to do our due diligence. So again, give me the independent data, and two, bring it to the people and hear their feedback before you sign them up for $489 million. All right, one sec. What's the rush, man? What's the rush? All right, so thank you, because when we think about that Spurs arena, one of the things, because we're gonna hear, hey, we need more cops, we need more this, and we need more that. That's why I'm hell-bent and pushing and make sure, hey, is there some revenue sharing we might be able to get as part of the deal, right? We got the top 2 players in the entire league now. Those tickets are gonna go up, the concessions are gonna go up, parking's gonna go up, naming rights is gonna go up. So when the Spurs benefit, I want us to benefit. And I want that money to go into the general fund so we can do all the projects you all care about, okay? All right, we gotta get this right. Y'all, we gotta get this right. So please, if you support what I just called for, independent data and bringing it to the people for feedback before a vote on the term sheet, please encourage your councilman to support that. Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure where JC went, because unfortunately the MO, the dishonesty, unfortunately continues. Okay, because we had actually, to let everybody in on this, tonight's about the town hall on the budget, and we had an agreement literally 5 minutes ago that we would allow the mayor to come up and speak if we kept it to the budget and not on Project Marvel. And yet we just saw what took place. So what we're going to do, we are going to keep this to the budget tonight, and the issues related to the to Project Marvel and the Spurs Arena, our city manager Eric Walsh has agreed to be back here in September, and we are going to talk all about the arena and your vote in November, because at the end of the day, you, the people, are going to get to decide in November whether or not this continues. That's the way it should be, and we have to get you all of the information before November so that you know what you're voting on. Now, Mayor, respectfully, you've had your opportunity, Mayor. Mayor. What I want to do now is I want to recognize 2 of my council colleagues that are here tonight, Councilwoman Marina Aldrete Gavito and Councilwoman Terry Castillo. Please come up. Now, during the last 2 years on council, we have discussed so often, right, the need for our city government to focus on core services, right? It's about public safety, it's about infrastructure, it's about delivering basic city services to you in a high quality manner. I'm here to tell you this evening that my council colleagues, Marina and Terry, have stood with me for the last 2 years, fighting for public safety, fighting for infrastructure, fighting to do something about the homeless situation we have in San Antonio. These are really hard-working council people. I am honored to serve with them down at City Hall, so please give them a round of applause for all of their work.
Well, good evening, District 10. I am Marina Alderete Gavito. I'm the City Councilwoman for District 7. You have an amazing council member in Mark White. He's right. Him and I partner for your top concern, which is public safety. So whether it's we need more police officers, whether we need more firefighters, whether we need more animal care service patrol officers, he knows this district intimately. He is a great champion and advocate for you all. I was talking to some of you all earlier, and y'all were saying, we do not want our taxes raised. The loudest voice on the dais for not raising your taxes is your Councilman Mark White. So I'm honored to serve alongside both Councilwoman Terry Castillo and Councilman Mark White, and together, you know, the council, being on council is a team sport, and together we're getting things done for y'all. Thank you so much for having me there tonight, and I look forward to hearing from y'all.
Good evening, District 10. I'm Councilmember Terry Castillo, extremely proud to represent the south and southwest side of the city of San Antonio, and great to be back in District 10. Just last week, your council member drove me around District 10 to ensure that council is well aware of what your needs are, ranging from public safety to infrastructure and so much more. And as the councilwoman mentioned, governing down at City Hall is a team sport, and it's about collaborating, working with each other to ensure that we're well aware of what those needs are throughout the city of San Antonio. So as the councilwoman mentioned, you all have a champion at City Hall for what those needs are, whether it's senior center services, infrastructure improvements, and or public safety. He's someone grounded in the information and always ensuring that what he advocates for down at the dais and at City Hall reflects y'all's needs and priorities, and it's been an honor to serve with Councilman Mark White. Thank you.
All right, that is what it's all about, right? As we know, it takes 6 votes to get anything done down at the city. And so it's about working with your colleagues, understanding what they need in their district, having them to your district, like we did with Terry this past week. I drove her around the district so she could see where the needs are here in District 10. And as we move into budget discussions, now we'll be able to better work together to get you all what you need, the resources that we need here in District 10. So very, very thankful for my colleagues. So here we go. We're going to talk about the budget, and I am now going to introduce our city manager, Eric Walsh. And let me tell you, folks, nobody works harder than Eric. Can you imagine, right, trying to wrangle the 10 different council people that we have in this city and the mayor, all with different personalities, all with different ideas on where the city should go? Eric works so hard. There's not a day that I leave City Hall that his truck is not still there. He and his team working to make this city better. It's an honor to work down there beside him. And Eric, come on up and let the folks know what we're up to in terms of the budget.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you all for coming out and joining us. We always get a huge crowd out here in D10, and you know, this time of year, it's about getting input from you all on the staff's proposed budget that we delivered to the City Council last week. And I think the mayor or the councilman mentioned it. The council is scheduled to approve this budget on September 18th. Several challenges ahead of us, and I'll cover high level, but much to the point of the mayor and the councilman, we're in a period where we have to be very careful with our spending. The new mayor and council came into office in mid-June, and before July we had a budget work session to share with the mayor and the council where our expenditures headed, where our revenues headed, and how do we get those to align. At the beginning of summer, we were projecting our expenses in the general fund, which covers the police and library and buildings like this, at a projected increase of 3.5% increase in next year's budget, fiscal year 26. And we were projecting a 1% increase in revenue. And for those of you that balance your household budget, you know that that can't sit too long. And the longer you don't deal with it, the worse it gets in terms of compounding. The proposed budget that we laid out last week to the council has the general fund expenses only growing at 1.6%. So we have, over the course of fiscal year 26 and 27, really proposed reducing spending while keeping in mind the core priorities of the council. And those of you that participated in our budget survey, homelessness, public safety, infrastructure, housing, and animal care services. You know, it's about laying out a plan and working through it. We have seen for the first time since 2010, I know several of you may feel differently or experience something differently, but overall the city is seeing a 1% decrease in our taxable value. That's all residential and commercial. The last time we saw that was after the 2008 recession in 2010. So very unusual, but something to the point that the mayor and the councilman made, making sure that we're aware of what we're spending and making sure that it's aligned with your priorities is key. You're going to hear from these three gentlemen behind me through a number of questions and answers. Chief McManus, Anthony from Public Works, and Patrick from Homelessness. There are a lot of other folks in the room, executives from other departments. As I look around the room, I see our Animal Care Services Director, Parks and Rec executive staff, we've got Metro Health, we've got the Fire Department, Code Compliance, Development Services, the Budget Office, Justina, our Budget Director there in the back. We've got other members of the City Manager's Office and a whole slew of folks here tonight to help answer questions that you might have. Tonight is the first night of these town halls. We're having a similar one in District 3 right now. And we'll compile the feedback we hear from all of you and present that back to the council as they go through their deliberations. Beginning tomorrow, we are starting our budget work sessions, and Chief McManus, Chief Frosto from the Fire Department, and Presiding Municipal Court Judge Obledo will be presenting their budget to the council. We've got on Wednesday, homelessness, human services, and animal care services. And for the next 5 weeks, we'll be doing 2 long day sessions with the council, for the council and the mayor and the council to dig into the details. And then, you know, frankly, it's time to start talking about adjustments that the council may want to do in advance of the 18th. So your feedback tonight is important. We've got a bunch of folks here in the back of the room that are going to be recording questions and answers and getting that feedback. So thank you for spending your evening with us. Don't take it easy on Chief McManus, because Councilman White and the mayor and the other council members here tonight are going to be grilling him tomorrow. So consider this a dry run for the chief. Chief?
I second that. We're not going to take it easy on you, Chief. All right, so I've got the first couple of questions here for each of our panelists. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, answer the question, and then we are going to move on to your questions. So, Chief McManus, you all know him. He's nice enough to come out here all the time. We have a plan at the city, right, to have more officers on patrol rather than on call. Would love for you to explain to the citizens or my residents what the plan is, and then anything else you'd like to share. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Councilmember. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all again. If you remember, I'm always saying this because a couple people asked me when I came in, they asked me how my back was. Remember last time I came in here, I probably crawled up onto the stage, and I had back surgery and about 2-3 months ago, and I'm 100%, so I'm all back. So what we're trying to do is right now, police officers spend 60% of their time on call, answering calls for service. So what that means is they can't be very proactive. The other 40% of the time is their discretionary time, where they do direct patrol and work on neighborhood issues involving mostly quality of life, things of that nature. So as we increase the number of officers on the department, that ratio goes up, the 40% goes up, and right now, I believe we're up to around 51%. The last time we measured it was 40% or 41%. So as we gain more officers, the officers get more discretionary time. And typically what that does as well is when officers are on direct patrol and handling problems in neighborhoods, that usually fixes things where somebody doesn't have to call the police. So the number of calls for service go down when that happens as well. So that's what we're shooting for, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And y'all will remember, because we've talked about it in here, the city's plan was to fund 65 additional officers in this year's budget, right? And as it sits here right now, the budget is calling for only an additional 25. And so, as you all know, I'm gonna push hard for that 65. We've sent a memo to our city manager because I know for you all, public safety is number one, and we need to get more officers on the street. Told you that was coming, Eric. We'll discuss it more tomorrow. Okay, Patrick, introduce yourself, please, and new strategies regarding homelessness in the coming year.
Hi everyone, I'm Patrick Steck, currently Assistant Director in the Department of Human Services. I say currently because with the 26 proposed budget, one of the major homeless strategies is actually creating a new city department for the city called the Homeless Services and Strategies Department. We're doing that out of existing resources from my department, Human Services. It will be led and directed by the Chief Housing Officer, Mark Carmona, who has been with the city for about 4 years, coordinating between housing and homelessness. And so I'm really excited to be under his leadership, really in elevating the profile of homelessness. We know from budget surveys, from our work with council, it is a top priority of you all, our residents. We are elevating this department to not just continue doing the work that we're doing, but better coordinate across other systems. You know, we work well with our SAFE officers, our police officers, day to day. My team is doing street outreach engagements with people that you're seeing out on the streets, working to get them into a permanent housing situation. That can be a complicated process of repeated engagement and building trust, getting their ID back, getting them into a shelter or a housing program. It takes some time to build that engagement. So we do a good job of the day-to-day, but building that higher level strategy, it's a complicated issue, homelessness, that every major city in America is dealing with. And so in San Antonio, we really want to take a look, working better with our criminal justice system, with our mental health system, our medical system, our criminal justice system. We have a lot of things started, but elevating this to a new department will raise the profile and the work within the city organization to work outside of the city organization. We are continuing with our, the city's FY26 budget makes an investment in the low barrier shelter, and that's a shelter operated at a hotel downtown. It's been operated for the last 2 years, and even prior to that in a smaller hotel facility for the last 3 years or so. It's an alternative shelter option to provide folks a place to get into quickly on their housing journey. It's not a long-term housing situation for these folks, but it does help them stabilize, breathe, get a space for themselves as they move on into permanent housing. The city's budget does include 1 more year of funding for that. It had been federally funded. And then we are looking for these, like I said, working with other entities, other systems, long-term funding plan for that. We know it's become an integral part of our homeless response system. So that's what the FY26 budget includes for homelessness.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick, for that. Anthony, you've been here before, so again, please introduce yourself and tell my residents, in light of the recent storms, what is the city going to do moving forward in terms of flood mitigation?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Chukudoloy. Everyone calls me Anthony. I'm the Deputy Director of Public Works in charge of streets for the city. And so this next year's budget includes $11.5 million allocated towards repairing damaged roadways, drainage systems, and other infrastructure at 3 low water crossing sites that were damaged in this last flood. It would enable us to restore safety and functionality to those roadways. We're also working with our partners, which is San Antonio River Authority, Bear County,
to enhance the flood warning systems. Bear County authorized $21 million to enhance 101 low water crossings where we need to improve the infrastructure. The funds allocated also will facilitate the installation of new warning systems at 20 other sites. Thank you.
Just real quick to add what Anthony's talking about, and most of you probably know, but it's a good, if you don't, it's a good reminder. So after those storms in June, the city hired an independent engineering firm to determine how that occurred. Most of you that are familiar with that area understand and realize that that was not necessarily a low water crossing. It runs parallel to a drainage channel, Vital Creek. And I expect to give the council, mayor and the council, an update by the end of this week. That report will be final and we'll be making it public, but really to understand the 9 or 10 inches of rain that this part of the city, right up here, up Nacogdoches, received that evening and what occurred. And you know, part of that is making sure that that doesn't happen again, but also understanding exactly what happened. And I did want to also point out, Anthony mentioned the county and what they're doing in cooperation with the River Authority and the city in terms of those low water crossings. Commissioner Calvert is in the back of the room and certainly has been part of those conversations as well. So we wanted to thank you, Commissioner, for that continued work and partnership. Thank you.
Yeah, you stole my thunder, Eric. Please give the commissioner a round of applause. He works so hard here for Bear County. He really does a great job, and he's been a partner for us at the city in taking care of our mutual community. So, okay. Ah, homework, huh? Always studying, huh, Tommy? Always. All right, so those are our first questions. Now it's time for yours. We have folks in the teal shirts that are going to be walking around. So if you have a question, I guess, and a gray shirt as well. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We have a limited amount of time, so we're going to ask that you keep your questions nice and concise. So here we go. Raise your hand for questions. There we go, our first question.
My name's Mario. I just had a question on some of the infrastructure from the floods. Is there going to be any assistance from the state of Texas or any federal funds that we can tap into?
So unlikely, and no. Part of the mayor and the county judge did declare an emergency. There was some damage, obviously, on the northeast side of town. There was some on the northwest side of town, and then on southern part of the county. We reached the local amount necessary. That declaration was sent to the governor. The statewide damage did not meet the minimum to be sent to the feds. And so we had $21 million worth of combined damage between the city and the county, and the state needed to get to $55 million before the governor submitted it up to FEMA.
All right, next question. Where? In the back. All right. Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. Question on Baverde Road. They did construction to widen it, and then they stopped it just a little bit past Jug Road. I was under the impression, or maybe I got misinformation, that from the construction workers, that it was supposed to go all the way to Redland. Is that correct or not, sir?
John, you're going to help? Sorry.
Thank you for your question. So I do believe that there's another phase being planned for that. So I think the construction workers were talking about the additional phase that is coming. So more to see.
It'll all get done. Just take a little bit longer. Next question. Yes, I'm going to give you the mic right here.
You stated a minute ago that we were only allotted 25 police officers. Yet the paper we were given says 53.
So, and Eric can answer the question. We have some police officers that are coming over from parks, and Eric can better explain it. But the funding for the new officers is just the 25.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am. There are additional 28 officers that are being added in next year's budget, and they are primarily the supervisors for the new substation that will open up in 2027 off of South Flores. So it takes 7 months to go through the academy. The chief will put those positions, fill those positions in the academy next summer, and then they'll be graduated and out by the time we open up the substation. The 25 that the councilman and the chief talked about are just additions to patrol, and I think that's where you're getting the 53.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My question is about the homelessness. And y'all said that this man, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, but that you said that the apartments were a good place for them to get off the streets and begin their stabilization. And I wondered, could you explain to us the most effective way, like a process to help people to get reestablished into the community?
Thanks. So the initiative in the budget that we're funding for One Mary is actually a hotel facility, but it's a short-term stay. That is intended for folks who've been on the street the longest, typically. But yes, long-term, it's assisting them with getting into housing, whether it's getting their employment and income stabilized so that they can afford a place of their own. To assist folks, I always leave two numbers in any presentation. One is 311. If you see an encampment, need to report it to the city, 311 takes that. But the other is our homeless, now Community Connections hotline. It's 210-207-1799. That's our entry point into all things in the homeless response system. We even have some flyers and cards here. We can get connected with you after. And so that's the place where you can start the conversation with someone who knows all the resources in the community and get them into the system where they can best get the help that they need.
In the back left.
Yeah, talking about sidewalks around the area. I live in Longs Creek. Longs Creek, Knoll Creek, and some other subdivisions don't have access to the school bus. And it's Classen Road doesn't have part of the Classen Road, doesn't have sidewalks. The people who go from high school, junior, and the normal level, the primary, they walk. It's no, the people fly in the streets, they don't, some kids are walking along, and I'm concerning because we are going to have a big accident, a part of the heat, because the kids needs to walk with this heat in all the 3 levels. What we can do to mitigate that? It's been a long time. I have lived in here 25 years.
Thank you so much for that question. We have over 1,300 miles of areas in the city where there are lots of gaps, where the sidewalks don't exist. However, the city has continued to invest significant amount of funds in sidewalk construction. This next budget includes about $17 million towards sidewalk construction. I have staff here with me who are going to get some of the information, and we'll look at that and study that area and look at how the area can be included in our plans. Also, just want to let you know, we prioritize the locations throughout the city where we build sidewalks. And proximity to schools, major destination is a major criteria that's taken into consideration in us making recommendations for where sidewalks get constructed in the city. So I'll have staff look into that and get that information, and we're going to plan and look at that area.
Thank you. In the back.
I have a question concerning the park police that you said are moving to the city police. How is that going to affect your District 10 parks? We don't have enough park police as it is.
We're going to absorb the vacancies that are created in park when one of them leaves for whatever reason, and those responsibilities will transfer over to SAPD. And we'll look at the coverage in all the parks and reevaluate that.
Yes. I'm Paul Zase. I'm a leader in Cops Metro. Lived in this district for over 30 years, or nearly 30 years. I'm wondering, since we don't have the analysis yet of what this Project Marvel is going to cost, but we do have the analysis and we're looking at a growing budget deficit that's going to go over many years, what's the hurry to have to make a decision this month? The Spurs have several more years out in their current facility. They don't have to move next week. Why are we in a hurry to do things before we have the information?
Yeah, so we are going to keep it to the budget tonight, but I will give you a quick answer on that. The reason that the majority of my colleagues and I believe you will see on Thursday, feel like we need to move forward is because the county has called a vote in November, okay? And that vote in November is going to determine whether or not this Spurs arena moves forward or not. You and the rest of the citizens in San Antonio are going to get to decide with that vote in November, and that's how it should be. Our position is you all need all of the information. You should have all of the information on the deal prior to going to make your vote, right? That's right. And this term sheet that I'm confident is going to be finalized on Thursday, you're going to get to see everything that this deal entails. And you'll recall a couple of weeks ago, right, when there was this discussion of, well, if the stadium's $1.5 billion, right, well, doesn't that mean the city will be in for, over $600 million or something like that? Well, that's exactly the type of confusion that finalizing this term sheet will eliminate, because you're going to see in the term sheet that the city number will be capped. So the reason we're moving forward on Thursday is so that the citizens of San Antonio have all of the information that they need regarding this deal prior to going to the polls in November. Yes, sir.
Yes, as far as I-35 on the top of the city, and Chief McManus, I'd like to address part of this to you, is that it floods on the bottom level, and we see it in the news a lot. And to me, it's an embarrassment. We're competing with Houston on flooded freeways. So my question is, when we see that happening, is there a way we can get the police? Because if we don't have this, the physical solution to have that, because we're supposed to have a tunnel underneath the city to bypass that flooding, but if we don't have a physical solution, can we shut that down real early so that we don't have people stranded in their cars, or is that already happening?
No, if we have information that there's going to be flooding to where it becomes dangerous for folks to drive that way, then we'll shut it down. Without a doubt, we'll shut it down. We'll work with fire to do that as well. Okay?
One other thing, you're talking about downtown 35, right? Yeah, right, just on the north of downtown. So I don't think anybody here is from TxDOT, but TxDOT is doing a review of the highway system that encircles downtown. And I know that that's been an area that our infrastructure folks have pointed out, as well as police and fire. Frankly, the grates and the runoff and the pumping mechanisms down there aren't big enough. And so TxDOT is working to determine that. I mean, it seems to be happening more frequently. Something like a heavy sprinkle starts to pool water down there in those lower levels, but I know TxDOT's looking at that, and we'll stay on top of it as well.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I'm talking about staying healthy and young. This is a center that I come to all the time. We right now have 1,800 active members. We have 300 to 400 daily, but we do not have enough room for exercising. We only limited to 22 people per exercise group. We have land right out there. I was wondering, could we break those windows open and expand a little bit further? Because The people from Walker Ranch are coming over here now to take over some exercises because they've been cut down. That eliminates me from getting in some of the classes that I used to get into. Now, what I'm starting to do is come and stand in front of that desk on Wednesday mornings to make sure that I get a spot. How about us expanding out there?
Well, you'll remember last year, right, they were threatening to cut the hours of the senior center. But my colleagues and I over here teamed up and we made sure the senior center hours remained open. Can we expand the senior center, Eric? I don't know. We're going to need some more money for this. What do you think? It's only money, he says. It's only money. Listen, I think it's a great idea. The fiscal environment right now, in all honesty, is very, very difficult. But I can promise you that my colleagues and I would love to expand senior centers. Us here, them in their district, all across the city. So to the extent that our good folks can find us some more money, maybe in a bond project down the road, would love to do it.
So what do I need to do to continue to let y'all know that this needs to be done?
Well, it is now, Eric, you wrote it down, right? Stay engaged. Stay engaged, and we'll keep pushing. I promise you, we will do it.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure if there's anyone here from the Code Compliance Department tonight, but we all know that there needs to be an increase, not just in officers, but an improved process that Code Compliance uses to take care of our area. I would love to have you, Eric, or Mayor Jones come take a ride with me through my neighborhood and see what things are like.
Guy right here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amin Tomas, Director of Development Services. Code Enforcement is part of DSD. We are actually working on Code Enforcement Strategic Plan, and we did do listening sessions with all the districts and all the community. The consultant is working on putting all the information that we gathered together, and will provide us a report very shortly in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, based on that information, we will revise our goals, our processes and procedures to make sure we meet the requirements and the need that you guys told us you want us to do.
In the back, way back left. Oh.
Yeah. So considering this is a budget meeting, I have a question about zero-based budgeting that we heard about some time back, and was where all the departments had to account for every dollar that's being spent. And I'm wondering, did that play any part in this budget that we're discussing now? Was that a part of this year's planning?
Great question. My three favorite words, right? Zero-based budgeting. That idea started right here in this room, and I'm going to ask Eric to come up in a minute. See that? You see how he slowly tried to slip out? The short answer is we did some departmental reviews on this budget where they went line by line, and guess what happened when they went line by line and looked at all the expenses in a few of these departments? They found some more money to help us close this budget gap. But starting this fall, I believe, we're going to look at actually the hybrid zero-based budgeting, performance-based budgeting model, and I'll let Eric talk about that.
Thank you, Councilman. So the council is right. As we get done with this budget and the council adopts it, we have introduced and will reintroduce to the mayor and the council elongating our budget process, and that doesn't just happen to the joy of the budget analysts in the back. But frankly, it makes a lot of sense given that the mayor and the council are now on 4-year terms. Generally, that strategic conversation is happening in April, May, and sometimes June, and changing it so that the council can set those strategic objectives in the fall, give us time to do whether it's zero-based budgeting, outcome-based budgeting, performance-based budgeting, and doing that analysis during the year so that we're prepared and can come back to the council in advance. So we'll be looking at
All right. Let's go to the back. Yes, ma'am.
Hello. I've lived in this neighborhood 32 years in District 10, and my home that I have built has an easement behind the privacy fence and then a ditch. I have been calling for 5 years the 311 number to get the vegetation cut. It's probably 10 to 12 feet high, and when it rains, that ditch fills up quick, and it comes into our yards. You have 2 to my right and 3 to my left, and our yards are half full. It almost comes to my stoop, and I get so worried about flooding in my house.
Yeah, who wants to talk about?
Thank you for your question. I'll come back and connect with you afterwards, but all of our natural creekways and ditches are maintained on a regular cycle. So I want to come get that addressed to make sure that that part of what you're describing is what we are maintaining, but each cycle includes a mowing, so we'll make sure to follow up.
All right, over here.
Hi, my name is Lisa Peacock, and my question is, I'm curious about the homeless. When you move an encampment, are social services or support services there at the same time? And respectfully, our Councilman, Mr. White, I don't like that you cut our mayor off, but that's my question.
So yes, short answer, yes, we do provide. So we have a coordinated process of removing encampments. That includes our outreach services. We do work with police on the actual site abatement event. Police are there, but our street outreach teams are always there, both before when we're assessing the site, and then during when we're removing it, both with the police and solid waste teams. Where do we have? Right back there.
Okay, I'm Eva Michler, and the reason I'm very concerned about Project Marvel is because I remember when I was growing up how beautiful San Antonio was with all its beautiful old buildings and all. Well, now everybody's saying they're destroying them downtown, and they're saying, well, San Antonio has to keep up with Dallas and Houston if we want tourists. We don't need to do that. We have the Riverwalk, we have the missions, we have museums, we have SeaWorld Fest. We have so much in San Antonio. We do not need an arena when we've already had several arenas. But it sounds like the council in San Antonio, they've already decided we're going to have it. They started tearing down the buildings downtown where it's going to be. And what if the people vote against it? Of course, we will vote against it, a lot of us, but it's still going to go through because we should have been allowed to vote before anything was touched downtown, not after, not now.
Yes, ma'am. Those are duly noted concerns, and again, nothing has been decided yet, and it's frankly not up to the city council at the end of the day to say yes or no to the arena. It is going to be up to the vote of the citizens in November. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. So I was confused. Here it says we're spending $110 million over 3 years without impact to city services. I was in a Health and Human Services or Metro Health meeting a few weeks ago, and they said they were having to cut back on their services and really refocus, especially with the loss of federal funding. So I think even if you can say that our cut in funding isn't going to impact city services, city cut in funding and federal funding cuts and state funding cuts are going to have an impact. So we really should be trying to assist our city departments in covering those cuts in our budget.
Okay, so, you know, part of what you're describing is, I think a lot of folks, a lot of public entities are feeling, to date, the city has lost about $1.4 million in a Metro Health grant and $21 million in a solar grant. Do I think that that we will continue to see declines in federal or state funding? Likely. This budget reduces 68 positions out of our 13,000 member team. 35 of those positions are filled, and we started slowing hiring of non-critical positions in the fall. I'm sorry, in the spring, earlier in the spring, when we saw where we were at financially. And beginning last Thursday, HR started talking to those 35 individuals, and we have positions for those individuals with no change in pay, because we do need to fill those positions. But that's a tough choice, right? Because we are trying to bend our expenses down, and out of the 13,000 employees we have, the vast majority of what we spend per year is individuals, but it's going to require us to be a little bit more aware of those expenses and control them. And you know, that's not a good thing always. You never want to be in a position, hell, as a city manager, we didn't even lay anybody off during COVID, so this is the first time I've gone through this as city manager. It's not easy, but we're trying to do it compassionately with those employees and make sure they got a landing spot.
Are you supporting an independent economic assessment of a situation? Because this is a budget meeting. And you know what? I have been all over this city, in the Pearl, Alamo Heights, this area, the South Side. I've gotten 540 signatures against Project Marble. And that's only the beginning. So people want answers, they want honest answers, and I think the people in this room deserve that.
Yes, ma'am, I agree with you. Transparency has got to be at the top of absolutely everything we do, and that includes Project Marvel, and that includes what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, which is the Spurs Arena portion of the project. So what you know you're going to get from me is continue to push to get all of the information to the public, get the details of that term sheet to the public so that everybody knows the terms of the deal when you get to vote in November. But tonight, and we will be having, I can promise you this, we're going to have multiple other community meetings between now and November to discuss the Spurs Arena vote. But tonight we need to stay focused just on the upcoming 2026 budget. Yes, sir.
I'm advised that the city is more than $2 billion in the hole. And I respectfully submit that the Spurs Arena is a budget item. It's nearly $500 million that we don't have to spend. And I see no reason it should even be on the council agenda to put on a ballot. It's so obvious that it's not an essential service.
Yeah, so I can tell you this. If money for a new Spurs Arena was coming out of this general fund budget, we would most definitely be talking about the Spurs Arena tonight. But if you look at the details, the financial structure of the deal, which again, our city manager will go over for everybody when he's back here in September, there are no general fund dollars going towards the Spurs Arena. Yes, sir.
Good evening, and thanks for all the folks from the city coming out to visit District 10. We appreciate that you remember us, and we will certainly remember you all and appreciate what you all do for us. My name is Dennis Stuckey. I'm on the Citizens on Patrol for the Northside Neighbors on Patrol section. It's a community policing program that we have here in San Antonio. And we work every day with the police officers, men and women from the San Antonio Police Department. The professionalism, the dedication is absolutely unsurpassed. We're concerned about the plan to cut the number of police officers to get our level of safety and patrol up to the needed numbers. Having said that, my question is to Mr. Walsh, which, as we're talking about the budget, when you did your prioritization, sir, what were the 3 areas, many areas I'm sure, but what were the 3 top areas that you targeted for cuts or changes that would help us meet the deficit?
So there were 4 departments this year that went through what's called a comprehensive budget review during the fiscal year, this year. Public Works, Human Services, Parks and Rec, and Metro Health. And it was more than just a budget review, it was a review of internal processes and efficiencies. And all told, there's about $6.5, almost $7 million worth of reductions proposed in the budget in those areas, none of which touches any major services that we provide, but eliminated some of the duplication. And I'll give you an example, although to your point, this might be really timely. There were 24 different parks programs that we funded throughout the city, different centers, and our staff and the park staff looked at average attendance. Each one of those programs, we are paying contractors, in most cases, to provide whatever the instruction or lead is. The proposed budget eliminates all of the classes that had an average of 5 attendees or less. And in some cases, we had 0, but in those cases, we're still paying someone to be there. So the comprehensive budget review really gave us a leg up. And as we go into fiscal year 26, we'll target 3 other departments. I say 3 because that group is going to, I'm going to ask them to look at consolidations that we can bring back to the council this time next year within our large organization. But that's a brief example of that.
We're going to go to Larry for this question.
I want to ask about street repair. Why do we keep repairing the same streets over and over and over again? I know that in Europe they have a way of building their streets so they have a deeper bed and they last a heck of a lot longer. Have we looked at any way of investing in a better approach to street repair so we don't seem to be doing it every 6 months?
Larry, that's a great question and a timely one. The proposed budget proposes to bring somebody in to re-look at how we're deploying those. We have $122 million in the budget next year for street maintenance. The methodology that we've utilized, that Anthony and his team have been utilizing at Public Works, hasn't changed in about 15 years, and we've got better access to data. I'll also share with this group that this is my 7th budget summer, and I have less and less confidence that we're deploying that in a manner that is conducive to actually maintaining our streets. I firsthand have seen streets that seemingly are being repaired while driving other parts of the city, wondering why they aren't. And you know, and I'm just being honest with you, I'm the city manager, and ultimately I'm responsible for it. And I shared this conversation with some of the council members in the spring, and then brought it up at the June work session with the council. But when I think back, we've probably spent about $600 million over the last 5 years in just street maintenance in this entire city. And I don't think we're doing it effectively. I don't understand why we pick streets out of some neighborhoods rather than dealing with the worst neighborhoods, getting it all done and moving along. But I think it's time to kick the tires on that old system that we've got, and we're going to be doing that next year.
Yeah, we got 22% of the roads in this city, right? You've heard me say it before, are in poor or failing condition. Gaps in the sidewalks, drainage problems. San Antonio's infrastructure is aging. And so I continue to urge my colleagues, right? Money for public safety, money for infrastructure improvements. That's where we need to be spending your tax dollars. How can we most directly and positively impact your day-to-day lives? That's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at the 2026 budget.
I'm Beryl Parks, and I live in the subdivision near here. I want to thank the city for all that they have done so far. I want to give a special thank you to our first responders, our police officers, and our firemen, who are always there risking their lives for us day after day after day. I want to know why the city isn't ready to do the same thing for them. By cutting the number of police that we're going to fund, we don't just put our lives at more risk, we put their lives at more risk. I have not seen serious patrolling in our neighborhood in quite a while. And Chief, I understand that we were doing that a lot because of the hot spot. Patrolling being done. And by taking our police force now, and we're going to spread that even farther because we're going to have them now patrolling the parks. So I just want to express my concern. I understand there's been cuts taken, that we have to make cuts. I just want to say I'm not in agreement with it being cutting our first responders.
Yeah, thank you. And listen, 3 of my colleagues signed that memo with me to the city manager. Tomorrow, we have our public safety budget briefing. This is going to come up again tomorrow. And I think City Council at the end of the day is going to have a decision to make, because I believe it's about an additional $2.1 million. 2.4? It's an additional $2.4 million to get the additional 40 officers into the budget. We have a $1.7 billion general fund. I think we can find the $2.4 million to add these 40 additional police, and I'm gonna keep working and see if we can make that happen.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kayla Carter. I'm the founder and CEO of a nonprofit located right here in D10 called For Her. And we provide essential services to survivors of domestic violence. We do mental health services and economic empowerment services. We have actually been a part of the 2024 and 2025 budget, and I'm sorry, 2023 and 2024 budget for the city in providing these services, and we are not in this next fiscal year's budget. So we were notified in March that it was recommended to extend our contract 8 months, which would put us into May of next year. And then I was notified on Thursday that actually our funding is ending in September. That is devastating for women in our community and for those who are seeking services, who oftentimes will end up homeless, who will be a part of the justice system because there's not a safety net of support, and that's what For Her is offering. So I want to know what can we do to advocate for our organization to receive that funding, because all other domestic violence serving organizations that were in the budget are still in the budget. Even though they are reduced amounts, we were the only ones cut, and we were the only domestic violence serving organization in D10.
Well, it's good to see you again, and it's a great organization. It really, really is. So to answer that question, I'll just simply say this. The financial times at City Hall are very, very tough right now. And we get asked by hundreds of organizations to fund their priorities every single year. And unfortunately, not all of them can be funded. So what I have been recommending to the nonprofits and any organization that seeks city dollars to do is come and give each council member sort of a one-pager with, here's what we were able to do with the money last year. Here are the results that we were able to achieve for the citizens of San Antonio. And if we get the additional funding in the coming year, here's what we expect to be able to achieve in the coming year. Get that to each of the council members, set up meetings with each of the council members and talk with them, because I can promise you, and I say it all the time, my colleagues, folks, not only do they work hard, they have big hearts. They care about the citizens of San Antonio, and on issues like this especially, they want to help, and we will do everything we can to help. It's just that we cannot fund everybody every year. But so I look forward to working with you. Please get us some more information on that, and I promise you I'll share it with my colleagues and we'll give it a look. Yes.
Sorry. Hi, sorry. My question is about public libraries. I know hours have been cut since COVID, and I just don't understand why the majority of weekdays libraries are closing at 6 p.m. when most hardworking families don't get off of work until 5 p.m. And I think that families need that space, and I just want to know if any part of the budget is going towards increasing those hours.
Hi, I'm Kathy Donelin. I'm one of the assistant library directors. The branch libraries are open 7 days a week, 56 hours a week. So we do have 2 late night evenings until 8 p.m.
In the back.
Hi, my name's Isaiah Banta, and I wanted to address, this is good that this conversation is happening around the general fund, but to say that the general fund and the tax structures that would go to Project Marvel are not related, I think is a bit of an obfuscation. In the past, the hotel occupancy tax, the Bexar County venue tax, the tax increment reinvestment zones, all that stand to give hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, have in the past been used to subsidize the general fund. And I'm just saying that, and I think that a larger review of the numbers, as has been brought up here before, to say that that isn't related to the general fund, I think, is not the full picture. And an independent economic analysis would...
Appreciate your perspective on that, certainly. And again, we're going to be talking more about that as the vote comes near in November. Yes, sir.
My name is Roger Ross, and I live in High Country. I walk every morning through the neighborhood. I have some slight mobility issues, and there's several places where the drainage ditch goes through the neighborhood. And so you're walking down the sidewalk, and it just stops. No sidewalk across the drainage ditch. You go on the other side, and it starts again. So I reported it, and I was semi-pleased with the response I got, except I was told it would take a study of 4 or 5 months to see if we needed a sidewalk across the drainage ditch. So I didn't have to walk in the street every morning. I mean, can't somebody just go out there and say, man, there's no sidewalk here, let's put one in there.
It's unfortunate you got that answer, sir. Seriously. I have my team here, and we'll be out there tomorrow taking a look at it.
All right. Now that's responsive city government right there. Thank you, Anthony, for that.
This has nothing to do with Project Marvel. I just have a quick question, Mark. By the way, I'm Don McCauley. I've been around for many, many years and have been involved with the neighborhood associations in High Country. But what I'm curious about is you got $1.69 billion proposed for the general fund. How is that utilized and who authorizes the expenditure of that funds, and is it transparent?
The man who authorizes it is right here.
So the council authorizes the budget and the spending in accordance with the police department's budget. When the council approves the budget, every department has an allocation that they have to legally stay within. Transparently, if you're so inclined, on the city's website, you can look at the entire general fund, actually all the city accounts, by line item and historical to see what Chief McManus spends on office supplies at the police department, throughout the department or in any department. So, but the council authorizes through the budget ordinance in accordance with the city charter the authorization to us to spend.
So this is primarily capital expenditures?
No, primarily it's operating. And 79% of our expense is associated with the 13,000 employees.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
Yeah, so council sets the priorities and where we want the money to go, and then Eric and his team executes, and Chief oversees his department, he executes there, and on we go. Yes, ma'am.
Check, one time.
Now it's working? Okay. Hi, my name is Shelly. Recently my husband and I purchased a house here at District 10. I wanted to know that when there is a bond that has been approved previously but is no longer needed for certain funds and a project has not yet been completed, is that able to be reviewed? Because in our neighborhood, the city is proposing to make a drainage ditch that takes about 25% of our yard for drainage that is no longer an issue. And we are standing to lose property value. We are standing to have to deal with construction for the next year plus, and it's no longer needed. So I would like to know if it's possible to reevaluate that.
So if you wouldn't mind, John, wait, pick your hand up. John will come talk to you because to follow up on that specific concern. That seems a little unusual, and we'll make sure we follow up on that.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Cooter with Cops Metro, and I'd like to know, out of that $17.5 million for house repairs, how much of that is going to be allocated to District 10?
The District 10 numbers for house repairs. Do we have that exact number? Yeah, here we go.
Hi, my name is Justina Tate. I'm the budget director. I don't have that specific number, but we will definitely follow up with you.
We've got time for a couple more, and then Councilman Gallagher's going to come up for everybody's favorite part of the night, which is our door prize.
My name is Leslie Holland. I am a teacher here in San Antonio. My question is for Chief McManus. Within your budget for the